session today is reflective practice and data collection from choir members, and giving a brief outline of our move to online choir delivery from the perspective of the choir director. The Better Breathing Choir is based in St John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and it was established in 2016 as part of a research project between the Faculty of Medicine and School of Music at Memorial University. It was designed to support individuals living with respiratory illness, as there was no support group in St John's. Pre-pandemic, we regularly invited guest speakers to present on topics of interest such as the importance of exercise, good nutrition, vaccines, and correct inhaler use. During the pandemic, we opened choir membership to anyone interested in using gentle exercise and singing to improve their well-being, whether mental, physical, and social. Most choir members are over the age of 60, and most self-identify with having some sort of respiratory or vocal issue, so there's no requirement to disclose this. We've always had an inclusive, non-judgmental approach to membership in a safe environment, with no need for choir members to have had any prior musical knowledge or to read music. We try to create an atmosphere, an environment in which the limitations imposed by a participant's health conditions or their lack of musical confidence will not impact on their ability to participate fully in the choir sessions, focusing on their strengths and abilities, both in terms of their health and music. We encourage choir members to take an active role in suggesting songs, as we find that this leads to more active engagement, particularly for those less musically confident. While some choir members come with extensive previous singing knowledge and experience, others have joined never having sung in a group. Some choir members were hesitant to join, having been actively discouraged from singing when they were younger, and others had not sung for many years due to real or perceived barriers in joining or remaining in regular choirs due to coughing and fatigue. Choir members commented, saying things like, "We're among people who understand our limitations and don't look down upon us because we had to cough or breathe as and when we need. No pressure on those who were not musically talented. Choir gave me the confidence to try and sing again despite all my mistakes. And the singing gave me the confidence that I could sing again, having not done so for about 15 years. Initially, we restricted membership to those living with respiratory illness in order to provide a more targeted music intervention, but also to ensure that choir members who needed to cough or take longer breaks would feel comfortable doing so." I'm sorry. So I pause for a moment. Do you want me to keep going, or shall I?
Can everyone hear okay?
You can still. Do you want me to shout? Oh, they can hear me? I can keep going. Shall I keep going? Okay. Wave at me if you can't hear me properly, and I'll try and project better. The choir meets for weekly. Oh no, wait a minute, I'll go back a bit. Having expanded our criteria for membership, we have to explain to new members the nature of the choir, so they understand how our format differs from a community choir, to avoid any disconnect between their expectations and ours. The choir meets for weekly sessions throughout the year for about an hour and a quarter. For in-person sessions, we meet at Memorial University in a scent-free and fully accessible environment with plenty of free parking by the building. All important considerations, particularly for a health choir, and it's why we changed location. In March 2020, like many choirs around the world, we moved to online choir delivery. While I had used online platforms for meetings, I never imagined I would be trying to run a choir using Zoom. That very notion seemed to go against everything I believed was important in group singing, namely being in a room together, hearing the voices of others blending with and supporting each voice. And to be perfectly honest, I was terrified as I transitioned from simply leading the choir to singing and playing the piano and trying to figure out technology on my own. Last month, we started offering hybrid sessions to accommodate the different needs and preferences of choir members, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the low latency trials later on. Moving to a hybrid model has meant once again rethinking how we deliver effective choir sessions. To ensure online participants feel fully engaged, we focus primarily on those online. So it's an online session where people can also join in person rather than the other way around. Most people still prefer to join online. Some live outside the St. John's area, others have mobility issues, others are immune compromised, and some of our participants simply don't feel comfortable in a group yet. Providing space for experiential and intergenerational learning has been a fundamental element of the choir from the beginning, offering all choir members, whether students, seniors, or leaders, the opportunity both to learn and to share knowledge. For example, choir members often share their historical knowledge of the province as it relates to the songs we sing. Students share their musical expertise while also learning a new approach to group singing and having the opportunity to try out their ideas with the group, which has been particularly beneficial for students from music education, music therapy, and physiotherapy. Students help with the hybrid setup. They build musical confidence in our singers to their strong voices, leading by example, and they serve an essential role socially, both online and in person, supporting choir members. I usually meet with students before they start working with the choir so they fully understand their role, as it's often quite different from that of a more traditional choir. Choir members often comment on how much they enjoy chatting with students, and this was particularly important during lockdowns. Collaboration has played a key role in designing and running the choir. I've drawn on expertise from occupational therapists, speech and language pathologists, physicians, and other musicians. I jointly lead the choir with a physiotherapist with expertise in cardiorespiratory physiotherapy and seniors health. Each session includes at least 20 minutes of physical warm-ups and breathing exercises, followed by vocal warm-ups and songs which build on the techniques used in exercises. I refer back to the earlier exercises so that we can incorporate the techniques into the singing to address respiratory, aerobic, and cognitive goals. Synchronizing movement with the singing also provides a welcome visual reminder of the cohesiveness of the group in the online environment. Our repertoire is chosen to meet both emotional goals and goals related to breath awareness. Exercises are adapted from current cardiorespiratory physiotherapy repertoire used in clinical practice and from alternate sources such as pre-established exercise programs developed for use in community groups. They're explained and demonstrated, including modifications to allow for all levels of physical and respiratory capabilities, so that choir members can participate at their own pace and comfort level. Bringing physiotherapy techniques into the singing environment allows participants to learn skills to self-manage their symptoms and improve many aspects of their quality of life in a less clinical setting, and give them a toolbox of techniques that they can use at home with or without music. In collaboration with a physiotherapy intern working with the choir, we created written instructions and videos to help participants practice at home. Physical warm-ups focus on stretching and strengthening for postural and abdominal musculature. We also do coordination exercises for fun and for the very different benefits physically, and relaxation exercises such as modified chair yoga, Tai Chi sequences, and focused breath control exercises such as square breathing. So if you're not familiar with that, a technique which incorporates a deep breathing and mindfulness, where participants visualize a square path for their breath. And online, we each trace our Zoom square with our hand, providing both a tangible reminder of breath control and a means of building group connectedness, creating that sense of our collective breath and a synchronized breath, which you get in the room normally. Choir members talk about how they enjoy doing the exercises both in person and at home, with comments like, I feel good exercising with other people. We learned new exercises, which encouraged me to do more at home. And for those living with chronic illness or feeling stressed from social isolation, relaxation is an important part of self-care. One participant wrote, the relaxation exercises are so important. It helps me, and I expect others, to focus on ourselves and forget the trials and tribulations of the day behind us. Another said, choir is a lifeline for me. Some individuals have commented on how they feel more confident and comfortable participating in their home environments, saying, online may have been slightly better because we could add breaths or stay on one exercise at our own pace. We could easily modify what we were doing without having to worry about disrupting the group. During in-person sessions, a physiotherapist is able to monitor participants' response to exercise and provide timely cues for adjusting technique and adapting to signs of difficulty, in the same way that the choir director does. When using a virtual platform, it's not possible to observe participants to the same degree, nor to hear them. And although they can unmute themselves with questions, it isn't as easy. It's more challenging knowing how to adjust to the needs of the group. And it's why I really like seeing people moving to music, as it gives me some visual feedback, which is reassuring. And I also ask regularly whether participants are learning the music okay. During building musical confidence, which was a really important aspect of the in-person sessions, has been much more challenging online, and many miss hearing the other voices. We received comments like, it was more inspiring when you could hear the voices of the choir around, and the vocal warm-ups are still good, but we miss having the other people's voices around us, especially in the ones where we do as rounds. Another commented, the main reason I didn't like choir online was because I sounded quite bad without the choir around me. And the support and feeling of the whole voice of the choir around one is sorely missed. Singing some songs is difficult without the support of the other voices in the choir, especially those of the volunteers with musical training to guide those of us untrained. One person referred to feeling lame when singing alone at home. On the other hand, another participant said, singing songs is my favorite part. I like that we're muted, so nobody hears me. And another one said, I find the online weekly connection very good. It makes me practice and keeps me singing. It's a shared experience with those who love to sing and is of great value to me. The hybrid setting allows us to recreate more of the elements people miss in the online settings, such as singing round, hearing more voices. Online group singing has meant rethinking what it means to be part of a choir and what our priorities are in group settings that often place equal value on factors such as supportive community building, reducing social isolation, acquisition of musical skills, socializing, relaxation, and performing. Choir functions as a cultural, musical, and social experience, as well as support groups. So ensuring we maintain all these elements in our in-person, online, and hybrid environments has meant having a fluid approach, being willing to try, retry, reject, modify our ideas, listening openly, and trying not to make assumptions about what our participants' needs and preferences are. It's meant reimagining how the benefits from group singing can be maintained and enhanced in a modified online environment. While the move online was forced upon us by the pandemic, it subsequently provided choirs with opportunities to reconsider their mode of delivery, their role in the community, and to explore new approaches to group singing to serve a wider population, including people who previously were unable to participate in person, such as those outside of urban centres and places impacted by severe weather. For example, we didn't have any sessions in person in the winter, but we do online. Those with mobility or transportation issues, those who are immune compromised or anxious in group settings. Access to technology continues, however, to be a barrier to participation for many. Finding creative and sustainable ways of using online group singing to support those living with chronic illness and social isolation will continue to be an important part of how we think about singing in the future. With increased interest in social prescribing in Canada, there's a natural fit for health choirs within such schemes, both in person and online. While each choir has its own priorities and approach dependent on a range of geographic, social, and health factors, there are many commonalities within health and community choirs. If choirs are to become integrated and embedded within healthcare systems, as well as in our communities, then it's essential that we learn from diverse choir experiences to offer group singing that best meets the needs of participants. And I see SingWell offering a great forum for this. While online singing may not be a positive experience for some singers, it provides an opportunity for others to participate in ways that they otherwise could not do. We just need to reimagine what we mean by group singing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. It's always so lovely to hear your perspective on it. Positive and positivity. It's great. So open the floor to any questions. And from online, just raise your hands.
Should also say that Hannah was a volunteer with the choir. Just not wanted to put Hannah on the spot, but did you have questions for Hannah?
I think the next speaker might have also
Yes,
been a
yes.
volunteer in the choir.
How do you manage what are the challenges of hybrid choir and how do you manage them?
So we've only just started that. The current main problem is that it's requiring us to have 3 computers set up because of the space that we're in. So that people in the room can see the lyrics on a screen, people at home can see the singers to get that feeling of being part of a group. And I have the computer balanced on a grand piano while I'm playing so that people can see and hear me. And it's those practical challenges, and also because it's a physiotherapist who's working with the group, we want people to be able to both hear her and see her legs and her arms and her posture. And so just it's setting up the computers really to do that, I think, is the biggest challenge. I was really surprised how much people could hear online in the hybrid setting. So we could sing in parts. I can't hear the people online, but they could hear us, which I was really excited by that.
I've participated in a sing-along for Singing with Parkinson's, a group we have a long history with here. And the hybrid was amazing for me. It was so much better than trying to sing into the void of Zoom. And we did some dancing in this session too. There's some people from Dancing with Part, it was a fundraiser. And it was great too. Like, I've done dancing on my own. It's not so good. Sorry, I mean like this is the help. I've also danced on my own privately. But no, I mean that I think it's from the participants' point of view, there's some gain that comes from, you kind of can imagine yourself in a group when you see the group on the other side.
And that's what people said in the session, that they were so excited, even the people online, that they could see people sitting in a group, even though they weren't comfortable being part of it, and hearing more than just me playing along to my piano at home. And instead they could hear me along with other people. So that I was really excited by that, but people were both online and in person as well.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Just to follow up to that, I do a hybrid dance Parkinson's group, and I find it very challenging as the facilitator to maintain the split focus. As an interesting choice that you made, that you said the online group is the priority, and the people who are in person are kind of along for the ride. Was there a reason or a point at which you made that choice?
Really, it was because I had been in hybrid sessions myself, and if I was a person online, I felt like being on the outside, and so that I wasn't really being heard or seen. And that's from experience, having taught, online during the pandemic and attending things. And so I made that decision. So I've got the computer set up on the piano like I did at home when I was running that, and I speak to the computer, and then the people in the room kind of sat wherever they wanted, so they could see me, and I would turn to them, but I'm talking to the computer, which is an odd setup, but it seems to be the only way, because people in the room will say, I can't hear you, can you repeat that? And we'll talk to each other if they want to, but it's people sitting online can feel like, well, they're all having fun in the room. And that was my experience with the children's choir, where we were doing that. But the people in the room were all having their group chats, and they were going for snacks together. And we were sitting online, so thinking, well, is anyone going to talk to me? And
You're getting nods.
That's why I made that decision, and we're just experimenting with that. But I think that is one way to solve the feeling outside issue.
We have time for one more quick question, which is going to come from Louise Jovan. Oh, Louise, you're still muted.
Right, now you can hear me? Can you hear me? Are you okay? Can you hear me? Yes? Jane, you can hear me? Not sure.
Okay.
Can you say that again, Louise?
Yeah, well, I'm unmuted. I just don't understand that Jane didn't seem to hear me. Do you hear me, Jane?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks. Well, thank you so much, Jane, for sharing this with us today, because this is my main worry, as our next step is a hybrid choir, where part of the people will be in a different city. The one online will be in a different city altogether. So every comment, every advice I can get today is most welcome. My main, yeah.
So I think that doing, whether it's online or hybrid, you have to use your imagination a lot and pretend that the people online, that I can actually hear them. So when I'm doing the online sessions, I'm pretending that I can hear them singing back at me, and I'm responding. So I'm telling people they're doing a really good job, even though I have no idea what they're doing, and they might not even be singing. and that, you know, we're all having a good time together, and we're learning this song, we're making lots of progress, and really having to imagine it, because otherwise, I just think that I think you need that energy to recreate it. And hybrid makes it much easier because people are actually enthusiastic along with me in the room. So I think using your imagination and pretending you can hear people has to be the way to do it.
But apart from imagination, I was wondering, did you notice that the people online do sing with the choir because they hear the sound of the choir, that people that are there and placed? Did you feel that? You feel that togetherness?
I think that when they could hear people in the room as a hybrid setting, they did. I think that when they're singing along at home, they feel like they're singing along with me rather than the group. And that's wrong. And we did try actually sharing the screen and like using like Great Big Sea. I don't know how many familiar with Great Big Sea, but one of the Newfoundland bands, we would play their songs and we'd sing along to that. And that was upbeat and you got the sound of the group. But trying to recreate that with me playing the piano, I think is quite difficult. So that's why I think hybrid does offer a lot more possibilities in ways that I hadn't thought about, to be honest, until we tried it.
Okay, and well, thank you for that. What I'm trying to understand too is your setting. You were talking about three.
Yeah, that's partly as a result of a particular classroom that I'm in. That means that in order to project things on a screen, we have to have a separate computer set up for that. But you do need two computers, we found, even without that, just so that people at home can see the whole group, not just me, because otherwise I don't think they will get that sense of the hybrid setting. They also can't hear as well. So it's, you know, careful placement of the microphone so that people actually do hear a group rather than just the individual singer.
Yeah. And the people do use the screen for their text. They don't use their notes. They don't use a paper at all. They just look at the screen.
We used to always have music, and we've got so many songs now. So we've got about 115 songs in our repertoire, and I can't afford to print off the copies. It's simply that, and participants like sharing the screen in online settings. So I decided to kind of imitate that in the classroom now. So they look at it on the screen and actually help posture because people are sitting upright because they have to look towards the screen. So actually, I think that there are benefits apart from the fact that I don't have funding to cover the cost of making copies of all the music.
Okay. Oh, well, very interesting. One last thought, Jane, if I may, if I'm not taking too much time, am I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. My concern at the moment is those people that will be in a different city. If I don't meet them ahead of time with the choir in person once, I feel that they're never going to feel the togetherness altogether. It'll be like another group altogether.
I don't know actually, because we have participants in the group now who live outside the St. John's area and I've never met in person, and they will never come to in-person sessions. They've said that, and they come every week and feel part of the group. Now, I don't know from a, you know, if you were measuring hormone levels, I don't know how that would match, but what they say is that they feel part of the group, and some of the responses were actually from those people, and we've never met in person. And there were people joining the sessions from outside of Newfoundland and Labrador as well. They were coming from Quebec and Saskatchewan. So I think that there are ways to make people feel part of a group without necessarily being in the same room. I wouldn't have thought that pre-pandemic, but.
Oh, yes. And you did not meet them individually before at all?
I've never met those people other than online.
Oh, okay. But even online, it was always as a group, right?
Yeah.
You two can speak after. I know you have other questions, Louise, and you have Jane's contact. Because yeah, I mean, we're going to hear from Louise after. She's going to share her project with us. So
thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much.